The crew alerting systems inhibit some messages and sound alerts during important parts of a flight. This prevents the crew from being distracted when it is not necessary. The inhibits also keep the displays clear of data that is not necessary. The master caution lights and sound alerts are inhibited when the airplane is on the ground and the fuel control switches are in the cutoff position. Some related alert messages are changed to a single message to decrease the number of messages shown. This inhibit is applicable only when the engines are shut down. New caution and advisory level alerts are inhibited during engine start, except for messages related to engine start operation. The engine start inhibit starts with the selection of the engine start selector to the start position. The inhibit ends when the engine is at idle speed or when the engine start is aborted. The status cue is inhibited from engine start to cruise altitude 30 minutes after takeoff, or if one engine is shut down after engine start inhibit is removed. Communication messages and sound alerts, except the cabin alert message, are inhibited after one engine is set to takeoff thrust. This inhibit is removed after the airplane climbs through 400 feet radio altitude, or 20 seconds after rotation. A rejected takeoff cancels the inhibit, and new communication messages can be shown after each engine's thrust is less than takeoff thrust. The master caution lights and sound alerts for new caution messages and all new advisory messages are inhibited after the airplane has 80 knots of ground speed. The inhibit is removed after the airplane climbs through 400 feet radio altitude, or 20 seconds after rotation. New caution messages will continue to be shown on EICAS during the inhibit period. If there are new caution messages, the master caution lights and sound alerts come on at the end of the inhibit period. New advisory messages are also shown at the same time. If a rejected takeoff occurs at more than 80 knots, the inhibit is canceled. The master caution lights, sound alerts, and advisory alerts can come on after airplane ground speed is less than 75 knots. New advisory messages can show if takeoff thrust is not selected on both engines. The master warning lights and sound alerts are inhibited after the first of these things occurs. Airplane speed is at V1 or rotation. The inhibit is removed after the airplane climbs through 400 feet radio altitude or 25 seconds after V1. Warning alerts are not inhibited during the time that airplane speed is less than V1. If a warning alert occurs after V1, the warning message is shown, but the master warning lights and alert sounds do not come on until the end of the inhibit period. Takeoff configuration warnings are inhibited after the first of these things occurs. Airplane speed is at V1 or rotation. The inhibit is removed after the airplane lands. Auto-flight system-related altitude alerts are inhibited after the airplane captures the glide slope or when landing flaps are set with the landing gear extended and locked. Communication messages, except the cabin alert message, their sound alerts, and the status cue are all inhibited after the airplane descends to 800 feet radio altitude. The inhibit is removed after the airplane speed is less than 75 knots ground speed. If the autopilot is used for the approach and landing, the master caution lights and sound alerts for most messages are inhibited after the airplane descends through 200 feet radio altitude. The inhibit is removed after airplane speed is less than 75 knots ground speed. Caution alerts that can make a go-around necessary are not inhibited. The caution messages will show on EICAS, but the master caution lights and sound alerts do not come on until airplane speed is less than 75 knots.